Hi, I'm back. My hair is a mess. Ignore everything. Um, it's been a couple weeks since I made my video last time. I talked about some touchy subjects. I talked about some certain things, certain things, certain things that I was that was bothering me. Uh, it didn't go over too well. Um, I I don't know. There are things that I want to say, and then there are things that I probably shouldn't say because it's gonna piss people off. But at the same time, if you're gonna fucking criticize my mental health, my management of my mental health, with some bullshit of you need to stop uploading right now and go see a therapist, go fuck yourself. Because that is one of the most condescending things you ever say to somebody who needs help is, oh, go to a therapist. Because that is you purposefully shutting off any kind of dialogue that you could have had with that individual. Don't do that. If you even want to pretend to care about other people's mental health, never, never, never do that. It is beyond condescending, and it absolutely makes them feel worse for opening up to you. So, my video, I think otherwise that video went very well. I spoke my mind. I got it out. I got it off my chest. It was bothering me a lot. Um, it's still bothering me, but I'm posed. I'm managed now. That was 2 weeks ago. Uh, I'm fine. I think the other part of the issue is that number one, no, there's no way in hell that anybody watched the entirety of the video. I was just having a rough and wanted to talk about it, literally just to yap to the ether and get it off of my chest, get it out of my brain, and that's usually how I cope with things by talking about it. And since I don't have a consistent group of people to just sit down and talk with on a regular basis that would unequivocally or unconditionally support me or just sit and listen, I sit here and I make YouTube videos and I talk nonsense for however long I talk nonsense. Like sometimes it's an hour, sometimes God, I think there was one time I made a vlog that was literally 2 fucking hours long, and it was just me yapping about useless bullshit. I've done this before, I've done this for years. I manage just fine. And that's all I ever aimed to manage. I am not looking to I'm not looking to subsidize my mental struggles. I'm not looking to fix them. I'm looking to manage them. And that is the baseline goal that I have waking up every single day is managing. And if I can't do that, then I sit in bed 6 to 8 hours at a time and then go back to sleep because I am completely mentally debilitated. I can't even get myself out of bed, which is not a good place to be. It's a pretty fucking awful place to be. And it leads to a lot of stagnation. It leads to a lot of stuff not getting done. I haven't been working on my books. The past, what is it, couple of weeks almost. Um, my mind has been elsewhere, but I'm still already at. I'm literally like 1 or 200 words away from 30,000, which is huge. I've already reached my goals for this year, so it's not like I have some pressing mounting pressure to just sit here and write my books 24/7. But at the same time, my goal next year is substantially more. It's just substantial. It is a massive goal that I have next year, which is to finish Act 1 next year. I want to have Act finished by the end of next year, and I want it shipped to a publisher at that point for them to tell me if it's crap or not. So I need Act 1 is God, where am I in Act? I'm 10,000, almost 10,600 words deep. Oh God. I'm 10,600 words deep. I need to. Oh, God. I need to fill out 7 to 8 times that number to have it considered by certain publishers. And if I don't, then that substantially limits my resources to get to that. Yeah, it needs to be 7 to 8 times this number that I have. And that's huge. It's a huge undertaking. I'm talking about writing 70,000 words in a single year. And I've already been working on Mystic Hills for 2 years almost. By the time March comes around, it'll have been 2 years. And I want to have substantial progress from that 10,600 number. I want to at least double that by the time I get to. And that's kind of my first foot in the door goal, is to reach that. And it's not going to be easy in any way, shape, or form. Worst comes to worst, all 3 acts will be one book, and it will just be separated into the 3-act structure. But I would like to just have them be separate books, personally. But that's also because it just makes more sense to me. But at the same time, I can understand why some people would think there's not enough substance. I have almost 70 pages of this fucking thing written out across all 3 acts. It's massive. And I'm doing it by myself. Like, that's kind of the whole deal. I'm undergoing this undertaking completely alone by myself. No one understands what I'm going to do with this story the way I do, because it's all in my brain, and I'm the only one that really can unlock the machinations of my brain. Sometimes even I don't understand my brain, so that's an enigma for another day. But at the same time, sorry, my capture is over on this screen. That's why I look over there all the time. I have this screen and I have this screen. This screen is where my book is at right now. This screen, I have Elden Ring open in the background. I'm jumping ahead of me. There is still a hell of a lot I need to get to. I have over 18 interrupted pages of the first third of this book. Almost. I'm almost through the first third of Act. And there's no, like, quantifier of what counts as how much is first, second, or third section of this book. But at the same time, but yeah, it's almost it's 18 interrupted pages of substance. Like, I have a whole fucking story going on in just those 18 pages that unloads a fuck ton of this universe that I'm introducing. It's extremely dense. Is kind of the word that I would use. It's dense. With the amount of stuff that I'm going through, and I'm not even done yet. Like I have notes. I took notes, of the stuff that I want to do in Act One because fuck, if I didn't, I would go crazy. I found this little book, some stuff. I took it. This would have been really useful 6 months ago. um, but like I have a plan. We're coming up on the second half of November here pretty quickly. And I already have a plan of where I want to be in months, right? Because it was about mid March of 2 years ago. Was it 22? Um, yeah. It was 2022. Was it? My brain's not working. No, it was last year. Back in 2023, in March of 2023, was when I started seriously writing these books. And I hit 10,000 words at the end of that year, and I've hit 25K at the end of this year. And next year, I want to hit. Uh, I want to almost quadruple that number by the time I get to the end of next year. Because just because I'm making the goal that I need to finish Act by the end of next year, at the end of 2025, doesn't mean I'm not going to stop working on the other two books in the meantime. The more that I have finished of Act 2 and 3, the sooner I can get them finished and published. Which has kind of been my mindset in working on all three simultaneously. Now, the downsides of that is if I change anything, I have to go through all three books to make sure that they all line up chronologically. Which is kind of why I want to finish Act 1 so avidly. Number one, because it makes sense. I'm going to be releasing chronologically. But number two, it's because Act 1 is my setup. So just as any other play, there's 3 acts to a play. And so you have the build-up, the conflict, and conclusion. I can't talk. you have the build-up, the conflict, and the conclusion. And that's kind of the way I've set up Mystic Hills. Is the build-up is all in Act 1. There's still stuff that happens in Act 1 that's extremely important, but it is by far the tamest of my 3 acts. Act 2 is where all of the conflict takes place. All of the character building that I do in Act 1 comes to fruition in Act 2. The conflicts between the characters, the conflicts between my villains, the conflicts between each other, the conflicts between the different themes that I'm introducing. It is very much conflict incarnate, is what Act 2 is. But to get there, I have to finish the build-up. And the build-up, and that's kind of the main reason why I'm having trouble expanding in Act 2 and Act 3, is because I haven't finished setting everything up yet in Act 1. And it's why it's been so slow for me to get there. But the more of Act 1 that I finish, the faster I'll be able to do Act 2. Because that's kind of the main reason why Act 1 is so hard for me to write. Personally, I knew from the get-go Act 1 was going to be the most difficult. I knew from the very beginning that Act 1 was going to really test me in terms of writing, in terms of character writing, and in terms of themes. Because one of the major themes throughout all of my story is family. And that makes more sense if you're privy to what I have planned for the entirety of my trilogy. It includes the good sides of family and the bad sides. It comes with both the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with family. And it's an interesting dynamic that I'm trying to go for, because at the same time I also don't want all my characters so inextricably linked to each other that it seems contrived is the word I think I'm looking for. I also don't want it to be boring, because so many dark fantasy stories are just so fucking boring with some of the stuff that they try to pull, because it's so expected. So a lot of the characters that I introduce in Act 1 are going to die in Act 2, and it's kind of that holdover that's expected. But I've also made sure to not make it too obvious as to who I'm going to kill off and who I'm going to spare, because like Act 1 almost opens up with death immediately, like, because I'm gonna talk about it too much, but I'm not gonna go into spoilers too much yet. But there's like a sparking incident at the start of Act 1 that leads into the events of the rest of the story, and into the events of all these characters coming together, and it's kind of the inciting incident that sparks the whole thing. The gas on the fire that really gets it all going. And it's something that I want to make sure I do it well, because after I finish setting that up and getting my final character introduced to my main cast of characters, then I can really get the ball rolling and have these characters interact well together, what their dynamics are, and sort of all the different traumas that certain characters carry. Um, because Adrian and Hunter kind of share a lot of similar traumas, I would say. It's not trauma in the, the contrived internet sense. It's trauma as in it's literally haunting every waking moment that they are conscious. Um, the trauma of the wars that they fought, the trauma of losing their loved ones, their wives, the trauma Adrian carries, the trauma of losing his children, the trauma of failing the entirety of his people to the point that there's only a handful of them left. Stuff like that. And you can already see how amped up I am getting. Just talking, just giving you little sneak peeks, little hints here and there as to the process of where my brain is going with some of these things. I'm always thinking about this, by the way. These books have completely consumed me. If I'm not thinking about my books, I'm sleeping. And if I'm not sleeping, I'm thinking about my books. And if I'm not thinking about my books, I'm writing them. If I'm not writing them, I'm thinking about my books. And so on and so forth. Like, it's a constant wheel of turning ideas and fleshing out certain dynamics in different ways, different shapes and spoilers, I guess. I'm not a romantic type of writer, so I'm not going to be writing super heavy into romance in my dynamics for my characters at all. There are going to be characters that have relationships of that nature, like I have to explore the dynamics between Neptunus and Adrian when Neptunus was alive and they were married. But marriage and being a spouse is very different for a mystic than it would be for a regular. And that's sort of the things that I kind of have to explore, because for mystics, they have to think about the bigger picture, because they live 2, 3, 4, 500 years at a time. And so when they marry for life. and they don't remarry ever again is kind of the accepted culture in their society. Is they marry once and never again. So the concepts of divorce or remarriage or stuff like that, that doesn't really exist. Like, those are human concepts that they don't really care about. They don't, it doesn't really play a factor in their society. And it's not me kind of romanticizing the version of marriage in the traditional sense. It's more of an expansion on what their culture is like. Because when you have to live with someone centuries at a time, like, most marriages on average, regular life, last 20 to 30 years, if that. And 30% of all marriages end in divorce anyway. So it's kind of up in the air. So you think about, 20 to 30 years, that's a really fucking long time to be married. Now multiply that on a scale of 10 to 20 times, and then you really start to kind of get the picture that I'm going. Marital issues can't really it's not that they can't exist, it's that they don't really play a part in whether the marriage goes anywhere, because there's arranged marriages, there are marriages that are preordained, there are marriages of choice, and there's different stuff like that that I'm going to get into. There's different things like that. Like, I've literally only been talking about this one aspect of my story for the past 5 minutes, and I've already kind of explored the stuff that I've fleshed out so far. It's not even a complete concept, and I'm not even done with it yet. And then there's the whole thing about the pantheon of gods that I'm introducing really early on. Like, it's very heavily implied early on in the story that there are multiple gods and goddesses in control of my universe that are either worshipped or reviled, and it's kind of a thing that I have to juggle with all these different things all at the same time. Not to mention, I also have to fully flesh out the magic system that I'm thinking of, because it's not magic in the traditional sense. Trying to think, because it's kind of like a sixth sense rather than an ability that you can learn or are born with. It's a technically you are born with it. All beings in my universe are born with a sixth sense from magic. It doesn't matter what world you live on. It doesn't matter what timeline you exist in. You have somewhere in your physiology, you have this sixth sense of, like, that gives you an awareness or ability to use magic. Now, there's different species that have higher words. I'm trying to think. That they have higher sensitivity to that sixth sense and are able to capitalize it on they're able to capitalize on it more. Mystics are the absolute pinnacle of that hierarchy in terms of using that sixth sense to wield magic. They are the most sensitive and can wield magic the most efficiently, and they're the best at it. Like, they are at the top in terms of utility for magic. And they're also the species with the most versatility with magic, and it allows them to do all sorts of different things. It allows them to do incredible feats that are normally impossible for their physical forms to accomplish. Now, of course, they're technically supernatural beings who already possess physiologies and abilities beyond the regular human capacity, but anyone who can wield magic can raise those abilities to even further heights. And that's kind of the concept that I'm going for, because mystics by their nature are already more, they're sturdier, they're stronger, they're faster than just a regular, but that doesn't mean that humans can't compete with them in terms of ability, because they're also sort of in that midsection between the highest and the middle of the sensitivity range in terms of magic, because there are some humans who are, I can't really explain that. Trying to think of a way to talk about it without spoiling. They they're inextricably linked between the mystics and humans. Humans and mystics are inextricably linked in certain ways because they have common ancestors. Is kind of what I'm getting at, and it's not sort of the cliche. Oh, they came from us. They came from mystics. No, it's more along the lines of they came from their world to Earth and merged sort of their genetics. Is kind of where the modern day human is at in terms of my story at this point. Because before, even before mystics came to their world, humans were already in that mid range of having sensory, that sixth sense to be able to wield magic. They already had the innate ability. The innate ability. It was the kind of the crossbreeding and the evolution that they went throughout the generations that heightened that ability even further beyond. And it's kind of that idea, rather than just, oh, humans wouldn't have existed without mystics, blah 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 blah. That's boring. I wanted humans to already have been existing by the time mystics were introduced to Earth, and it made more sense to do it that way rather than the contrived human evolution origin story, blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna do that. I think that's boring. Um, I think the way that I'm approaching it is much more interesting, and it's a lot more. It opens up a lot more possibilities because it makes you really think. Like, how much does magic actually play a role in the humans of my universe, rather than them being completely oblivious to it? Because you would think if there were mystics that came from their world to Earth, they would have passed on sort of that culture somewhat. And it's a kind of an interesting thing to explore later if I have time. Sort of along those lines. And I don't know. There's so much that I want to get into. There's so much that I want to talk about, and I could literally sit here and talk about it for hours. Of fucking everything. I could talk about everything from my books. Spoil all of the books right here, right now. If I really want to, really kind of get into the nitty gritty of what what is actually going on in my story, why it's written the way it's written, because my story is not written in a traditional novel format. It's written less like a novel and more like a play. It's written more as a play rather than just novel. So number one, I think novel writing is extremely. It's I want to call it a waste of energy. That's kind of talking shit about it. it it's complete. It's extremely contrived. God, I'm allergic to my own bullshit. It's a little contrived in my mind because all of the unnecessary punctuation, all of the extra effort that you have to go through, all the unnecessary prefection to all every time a character speaks, it has to follow up with an actionable uh, statement, and then followed by a comma and quotation marks. And I think it's a completely contrived way to write. I think it's a complete waste of time. Sorry if you enjoy writing that way, please do. This is just my opinion. Don't let me stop you because I think it's a waste of time. The way I'm writing it is much more comfortable. It's laid back. It's a lot easier to understand personally, especially considering that I've spaced it out correctly. Because I had a problem early on, and people were telling me about it. It's really hard to follow along with the novel descriptions and the who's talking all the time. And I have to I should have thought of it from the beginning. It was a complete oversight and a mistake in my part not to space it properly. Now it's spaced properly, and now it is set. I have it set in my muscle memory to space it properly beforehand. So take that for what you will. Um, fuck, I was talking about the gods. I actually have to open up my old stuff because I have thought of all the names of the gods. I am absolutely on point with. Oh god, gotta go all the way to the bottom. This document is completely outdated, by the way. It's absolutely it's completely outdated, and it does not reflect what I'm doing with my current version of the story. I wrote it out as kind of a blueprint rather than a definitive, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm following. It's not my Bible. I haven't written it out as that. It's just kind of, it's also at one point why I took away uh I literally can't look at this document anymore seriously because of how far along I'm in my own story already. Because my story has already evolved far beyond this document. This document's only 9 pages. It's not even finished. I was I almost completely wrote out all of what I wanted to do with Act 1, 2, and 3, and I added an epilogue, and then I came up with ideas for a fourth book. If I ever decided to do that one, and then at one point I cut myself off because I needed to focus on actually writing the books than just the hypothetical. Because the epilogue that I have written down for this is way different from the epilogue that I have fully fleshed out. I'm writing the epilogue of Act 3. I'm not done with it yet, but I have absolutely definitively figured out where the story, the end of this trilogy is ending, because the epilogue will cap it all off, and it will absolutely it's absolutely a cliffhanger. I'm absolutely blue balling you on what is going to happen at the end of the story. And that's for a reason. It's not some contrived, oh, because I want to sell the next book. It's literally because I'm not sure how I would tackle a fourth book yet. I literally am only including it to give you a glimpse into what would be happening in the next book, rather than just leaving you completely in the dark. The end, question mark, blah, 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 blah. I've literally been sitting here gushing about my books for the last half hour. Um, Speaking of gushing, I need to see if I can message Nick. It's been almost a month since I talked. What is wrong with me? I'm a bad friend, by the way. I'm a terrible, terrible friend. Uh, like Nick is my best friend, and I haven't spoken to him in almost a month. Last time I messaged him was on October 18th, and that was when I told him about publishers getting back to me. Well, a publisher getting back to me. Anyway, uh, it's a good sidebar, I guess. Um, yeah, so my gods hierarchy is there's the 7 holy gods, there's 6 fallen gods. Technically 6. Because technically, sorry about that. My Bandicam crashed on me. This version of Bandicam is extremely outdated. This is back from 2023. I need to get the new version. Go figure, the old version isn't working the same as the new version. You'd think they'd work the exact same way as when you downloaded it, but no. What was I talking about? My gods hierarchy. So I have the 7 holy gods and the 6 fallen gods. Now, the weird, wanky, wonky way that I've decided to separate my gods is all of the male gods are related to each other. They are all brothers. And all of the female gods are all sisters, but they are not related to each other. They were all born separately, is kind of the thing. It makes no sense doing it that way. It would make more sense if they were all related. I'm not dealing with incest, all right? Let's not go there. But the holy gods are Zira, Hiva, Elrin, Tenno, Aquin, Neron, and Zeva. Neron is kind of the big bad patriarch of the gods, of the holy gods. He's kind of the patriarch of the gods in general, ever since the patron sun god and the matron moon god were... that's a spoiler. Because there used to be 15 gods and not 13. We'll get there. Teriel, and Noctunus have nothing to do with kind of the current events. But yeah, Neron is kind of the big bad patriarch of the pantheon. And the fallen gods are Zervix, Elrix, Teva, Zel, Cure, and Vethix. Now, Vethix is the main villain of my story. He is the main big bad of my story. And that's kind of something that I'm... The ending of Act 1 is already written, where it reveals my 2 main villains for Act 1 and Act 2, and by extension Act 3, kind of. Because of the stuff that I reveal in Act 3. Noises. I have my headphones on, that's why. You know, and those are kind of the things that I'm dealing with. Shit. I'm trying to think. Brain's not working. I don't know. It's just been an interesting time for me personally. Just a bunch of stuff going on. The fuck is happening on my screen? It seems brighter. I don't know. Whatever. I'll figure that out later. In terms of YouTube stuff, I haven't really actively said it, but I'm kind of sort of pivoting away from it, even though I don't really want to. But it is going to be so much less frequent. Like I haven't made a real video, like for game stuff in what 6 months? Yeah, 6 months, and it was the Amnesia: The Dark Descent revisit, which was the full game revisit. I did that for A Machine for Pigs. I was gonna do that for Rebirth, but I started playing Rebirth. Fucking hate it still. I got through like the first, I don't know, hour, and then was like, yeah, I'm not interested. So that's what those plans were. I wanted to play The Bunker, but that's a whole let's play of its own, so that's like a whole probably 3 or 4 part series, and I don't know if I'm up for that. I don't know, we'll see. Um what else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah. I did a whole playthrough of Dark Souls 2, which shocker. I've played Dark Souls 2 maybe 3 times, and I said I didn't like it. However, I put another 19 hours into it over the last week or so. And I was playing it modded for the first time. And I was playing Bearer of the Curse edition. I hate it a whole lot less now. I fucking hate Scholar for sure. For sure I hate Scholar. Um Vanilla Dark Souls 2 I guarantee would be way better. But Bearer of the Curse edition was really, really fun. I played it with the lighting mod and with the quality of life improvements. Um, I did a whole bunch of different builds. It was a very chill, very relaxed playthrough, so it wasn't very like super serious or anything. So take that for what you will. I don't know. I really enjoyed playing Dark Souls 2. I did all the bosses and I did everything. I even did Frigid Outskirts, and I fucking hate that zone. Um, but that's not a surprise. Everybody hates Frigid Outskirts. I did Sin the other day, and I actually realized how actually cool the fight actually is. Actually, if I could say the word enough. But it's actually really fun. His moves are not nearly as simple as I remember when I did him the first time. When I did him the first time, I went in with a mindset that I knew I would hate the fight anyway. But that's just because that was Dark Souls 2. Um, but there were some moves that I saw that had carryover to like Placidusax, like the turn and fire breath. That's a Placidusax move, and that's something that Sin does. And it was so good. I actually really enjoyed the fight. Didn't enjoy the toxic so much, but I enjoyed the fight. It was fun. Um, Fume Night was really fun. Uh, I did Sin and Fume Night with all the summons, so it was just me and my squad fighting a dragon and a knight, and it was really fun. I did Blue Smelter. Obviously, I fucking hate Blue Smelter still. I don't like Smelter Demon in general. I think he's a pretty shit boss. I don't know why people like him so much. I just don't like. I don't like fucking Smelter. Mytha was really fun to refight. Who else did I enjoy fighting again? Lost Sinner, S tier boss, really fucking good. Uh, there's Skelly Lords. I didn't do Executioner's Chariot. I think that's the only boss I skipped. I think so. I think that's the only boss I skipped was Executioner's Chariot. Um, Bearer of the Curse edition, BOTC edition, I should say. Uh, is it changed up a bunch of item locations, so like the second and third dragon rings, I couldn't find them. So I was very much not as like healthy as I could have been. Not that they're that good anyway. Third dragon ring is okay, but it's very brittle, blah 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 blah. Yeah, yeah. I didn't enjoy having to I didn't enjoy the durability system again. That's something that I really don't like. I just don't like the durability system in general. In Dark Souls 3, it takes fucking forever to break a weapon. So it's completely superfluous. And in Elden Ring, there is no durability system, so it doesn't fucking matter. Which I think is the superior way to go about it. Like a weapon that you choose that doesn't have a durability that you can use infinitely. You don't have to worry about it. You can just play the fucking game. I don't know. There are a lot of people who disagree with me on that bit, where weapon durability should still be a thing. Honestly, I think Dark Souls 1 had the best durability system because it wasn't on screen all the time. Like you don't have the indicator in there in your face all the time letting you know that you're fucking up your shit. So you actively have to go looking for it in the menu. So I think that's better. And the weapon durability was a little tiny bit more generous than it even is in Dark Souls 2. But at the same time, they're different types of games. Dark Souls 2 is way more open. Um there's way more enemies. It's way different. The fighting is way different as well. Um Power stancing wasn't as fun in Dark Souls 2 as I remember doing it. When I played Dark Souls 2 last time, I was power stancing broadswords because I didn't want a crazy strong weapon. I didn't want like the strongest weapons in the game for my first playthrough, and that was a mistake because I hated half the game uh because I just didn't do enough damage. Uh I actually used bright bugs. I used the Elizabeth mushrooms and the dried roots like I'm supposed to. I used my Estus flask more. I never ran out of life gems ever. I think I only ever filled my inventory full of life gems twice, and I went through the whole game and still had like 50 left over. I don't like life gems personally. I just don't like them. I don't like having that much healing on yourself all the time. I think the flask system in all the other games is by far superior. Like even when Bloodborne is fully finished on the emulator that they're working on, and I play it, I'm not gonna like blood vials. I'm gonna hate blood vials. Um, I'm actually really excited to have Bloodborne on PC because that's just one more game from the series that's on PC. Um, all of the games will be on PC at that point because you can emulate Demon Souls, the original Demon Souls. You don't have to. It's not a PlayStation exclusive. I've been meaning to look into playing Demon Souls because that would be fun. Fighting Phalanx and Tower Knight and Leechmonger and False King Allant. That'd be really cool. Fighting them for the first time. That'd be really cool. Um, that's something I'm actually interested in. I don't know. My hair's a mess. Ignore me. My hair is at that point where it's trying to decide whether it wants to be long or short, and I'm not gonna keep it too much longer than this. I think I'm almost to that sweet spot where my hair really likes to just mind itself. It's not a pain in the ass to wash yet. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I'm rambling again. Uh, rambling for like 50, 40, 45 minutes. uh, I don't know. It's obvious from all these vlogs that I like to talk. I love talking about just random bullshit. If you were ever to be friends with me, this is what it would be like. I would literally just be talking about random bullshit all the time because that's just the way I am. Um like in between cuts, you didn't see it, you didn't notice because I came back exactly the same. Uh I actually left for like an hour and a half to go talk to Nick, my best friend, because I haven't talked to him in a month. I literally was talking about it in this video, and I went to go talk to him, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just go talk to him. Um, I always have a good time just fucking shooting the shit, Nick. Talking about random shit. We're just a bunch of fucking goofballs. Um, but I think that's part of our charm. I think that's part of my charm. I'm obviously the better looking one, but no. He's the one with a long term girlfriend and getting married next year. Like, fucking huge pat on the back for that. I probably will never have something like that. So he's way more well off than I'll ever be. Uh, fuck. Was there anything else? Maybe there might have been. There could have been. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. I'll figure it out at one point. So anyway, random talking vlog again. Yeah, I know. You're tired of it. I'm tired of it too sometimes. I can't help it. I am the way I am. Yeah, hate me or love me. This is the way I am. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. I don't know when I'll make another vlog. Probably not for another couple weeks. I try to space these out pretty well. Because I don't like fluffing my channel too much with this stuff. Even though I probably have more vlogs on this channel than I'll ever have gameplay videos. That's probably not true, but it is probably my biggest playlist at this point. I don't know. I can check, actually. What am I doing? Why am I talking out of my ass? I should just check. Fuck is my shit? Load, damn it. 246. Where's my Skyrim playlist? It's here somewhere. 134. Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, 246 vlogs. Because that's kind of what my channel is. For those of you who don't know what my channel is, and I'm putting this at the end of the video, so no one's ever going to fucking see this. But, like, my channel is simultaneously a Let's Play channel, but it is also pseudo kind of a catalog of my entire adult life up to this point. So, like, you can go back 8 years and see what I was like at 18 to how I am now at 26, almost 27. I'm going to be 27 in 5 months. Fuck. I just pissed myself off. um But yeah, I'm not that different from that kid that I used to be. I kind of am different. I'm a lot less awkward. I'm definitely bigger. I definitely look better. Uh, I don't know. I think my glow up throughout my adult life has been pretty fucking good. I was just a dumb kid, fresh college dropout, fucking around trying to find out what I would do with my free time. I've had three jobs in between then and now. Ass load of friendships that have come and gone. It's been a wild ride, dude. If I could, I don't think I'd ever trade it for anything, honestly. It's been such an experience. Both good and bad. Like it's I just never thought it would define me in the way that it did. And it has and it hasn't in a way, kind of sorta defined who I am. Because I have been gravitating away from being online all the time. I just don't care to be online all the time anymore. A lot of the stuff that I would have cared about a year, 3 years ago, I just don't care about anymore. I'm getting too old for that shit. I'm I'm focused on more creative support. I'm focused on more creative projects and more potentially beneficial projects because I don't know if you guys know this, but if I do eventually become an accomplished author, that opens up doors into innumerable amounts of things because once people figure out that I am a very talented writer, I could be invited to be doing all sorts of different things. I could open the door to doing a fuckload of shit. Literally. It's you have no idea how many doors that it would open if I were to go back. The only thing I would say is focus on writing. Don't give a shit about voice acting. Don't give a shit about doing YouTube all the time. Focus on writing. And I would have been way further ahead than I am now. God, I fucking hate this chair. um, but yeah, it's certainly been something. I do look back every once in a while. I look at my catalog of shit that I've done, and it's crazy how far I've come, how far I've grown, like as a human being, just as a human being, from then to now. I can already tell looking at that audio form that the audio for the first 30 minutes of this fucking video is messed up. So, but anyway, I'm done talking. I'll shut up for a while. I'll get out of your hair for a while. I won't come back for another 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully I'll have more progress to talk about by then, but I hope you at least enjoyed my rambling about my books. I could literally make a podcast just sitting and talking about the stuff that I want to do in terms of story writing with my books, but it would never work unless my books were already finished and already released to the public. It just it wouldn't work because I would want to spoil everything. And I don't want to do that. Not yet anyway. Uh so, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys eventually. Bye.